Good afternoon. I would like to welcome everyone to the 2013 International Business Conference. My name is Diana Ramirez. I am a professor at St. Edward's University. Over the years, I've had the opportunity of working with companies like Toyota, Eaton, and IBM internationally. At this time, I would like to introduce our panel. Aaron Strain is an independent researcher of religion and spirituality in the workplace. Caitlin Franks, a representative from WordBank, which is an international marketing agency, which focuses on brand consistency based on in-depth cultural, linguistics, and technological knowledge. Erica Ortiz has been the financial advisor for Krispy Kreme for the past 4 years. Omar Villarreal is a doctor in business psychology and has worked for the business psychology company for the past 5 years. In order to encompass a variety of aspects of international business, we have put together a panel of experts in the field of finance, marketing, business psychology, and religion and spirituality in the workplace. We are going to run a 30-minute panel in which most of the panels will have an opportunity to answer each of the questions I will provide. After that, I will take questions and do a brief recap of today's panel. Our purpose here today is to inform you, American entrepreneurs, about aspects of business to consider when taking your company or business abroad. This will include the potential benefits and challenges of expanding to a global market. To start off, a lot of you may be asking yourself why you're being so successful here in the States, but what would motivate you to want to move your company abroad? So that'll be our first question, and going off of what would be motivators to make you want to move abroad. And we'll start off with Erica Ortiz.
Hello, my name is Erica Ortiz. As Diana said, I'm the financial advisor for Krispy Kreme in their international wing. I've been there for 4 years. And for those of you who may not be too informed about Krispy Kreme, it's the leading brand specialty retail and wholesaler for quality sweet treats, such as our famous original glazed donut. And right now we're trying to expand to 20 international markets across Latin America, Asia Pacific, Middle East, and the United Kingdom. And by 2017, we're hoping to expand to 900 international stores. And some of the motivators that you all would be inclined to move your business overseas may be the fact that, simply put, you would be increasing your revenue, embarking on a new market overseas. And also, going off on that, the diversity that you would encounter in other countries will help you expand to other consumers across the globe. And as well as you could bring back what you learned from all these cultures, bring it back to the United States and increase cultural sensitivity as well as competitive intelligence. And from there, you will also be entering into a high growth market because, well, for example, with Krispy Kreme, donuts aren't as common in other cultures as they are here in the United States. And also there would be less competition. Sometimes this isn't always the case, but for Krispy Kreme it was. There were, all across the globe, there were many cultures where they had a form of pastry, but not necessarily one with a hole in it. So this also helped us increase revenue once again. And one of the things that may surprise you is the fact that by going overseas, you are increasing, you're increasing your chances of being able to test your market in other places. So right now, we are centrally located in the United States, but if we want to try a different flavor, we might be more inclined to go try it out in a different country where the demographics isn't as large as here in the United States, which is a great plus to moving abroad.
My name is Caitlin Franks. I'm an executive from WorldBank, which is a international, is a company comprised of international marketing experts. Our firm works with individual businesses to identify potential markets around the world, and then we develop effective advertising campaigns with the help of consultants from different countries all over the world. And then some of our clients include companies like Mazda, Disney, Autodesk, and Microsoft. To add to Erica's point, besides the obvious financial gain you can have from moving to globally with your company, you can also begin to build a global brand, which it seems to be a goal of most companies, like a global brand meaning something that's internationally recognized, like Coca-Cola or McDonald's. A global brand uses the same name and same basic message across the world. And at WorkBank, that's our focus, is making sure that your business message is culturally sensitive and consistent across all markets in its translation and its meaning. So.
Hi, my name is Aaron Strain. I'm an independent researcher on the subject of religion and spirituality in the workplace. I have a master's in business administration and a bachelor degree in religious and theological studies. Over the past 12 years, I've had the chance to work with many businesses, firms, companies, and corporations on how they handle religion and spirituality in the workplace. And some of the people that I've had the chance to work alongside with are Martin Schenkman, who's an estate planning attorney who, with talks that I've had with him, he puts religion in the business at a high level, because understanding someone's religious or spiritual backgrounds can be a big thing to take into consideration when planning out financial or business strategies. Also, I've had the chance to work with Roger Carter, who is the managing director of Team Tourism Consulting, which is an international consulting agency who help companies looking to move abroad with their business strategies. In my time, I've published a couple of works, and some of those have gotten onto New York Times and the Washington Post, and I'm very grateful for that. But going on to motivators, they're, from my standpoint and from the research that I attend to, it's when you get to thinking about moving your business abroad, the things that you really want to take in as far as motivation goes is the motivation to get to know your client, if that's what you're dealing with, or the country's beliefs and backgrounds as far as religion and spirituality go, because those can go a long way with understanding their financial goals, where they stand with certain products that you might want to sell or that they want to sell. Knowing their religious beliefs can be another way of understanding their investment preferences, because based on different religions, they might not want to invest in a certain kind of meat because they believe that is holy, or it is something that is set apart for other cultures. And finally, I've talked with two of the men that I've earlier talked about. They've talked how when they talk with clients, they write out their spiritual values, and it seems to make them more calm in difficult situations when they're trying to sell or trying to buy. And so there's all of those motivations are something that you should definitely take in consideration. Is just to recap that, is just taking into consideration what their background and belief is when it goes to religious and spirituality, because it can really affect their financial and investment preferences.
Would you like to add anything more? Or move on to the next question? Okay. We'll move on to the next question. Moving off of that, based on those motivators, once you understand and you feel the need that you're ready to move abroad, what would be some of the business strategies what you would consider when moving internationally? Would you like to start off with that, Caitlin?
Sure. There are 4 basic strategies you can use when you're actually trying to move your business into a foreign market and trying to break into that market. They go from low risk to high risk. So the most low risk strategy would be just exporting your goods. So you would manufacture them domestically, and you would control your company within your domestic country, and then just export and sell your product in a foreign country. Next would be, but that's potentially you get a lower profit margin from that. And then there's licensing, where you just you sell your trademark or intellectual property of some sort to a foreign country or a foreign company, and then by then using your name, you get to they pay royalties to use your name. It's kind of like franchising. Like Yoplait is actually a French company, or it's a French company, Sodima, that they sell the name Yoplait to General Mills to use in the United States. The next strategy you could use is joint venture, which a local company in a foreign country, and then your company would have a partnership, and they would share the ownership, the control of the company, and the profits. The only thing that can that's usually a very good way to break into a market, because the foreign country or the foreign company that you're working with, they know the local markets, and they know the customs, and they know what's going to work in that country and what's not going to work. However, there's always the problem that you might have disagreements on how you want to control and run things between the two countries. But again, you have different customs and different ways of doing things. So that's always risky. The next thing that's the most high risk, but potentially the highest profit, is a direct investment, where you own a business and you completely control everything in a foreign country. It's basically a foreign division of your company, so it's the same company, just somewhere else. But the problem there is that you have to have a very, very clear understanding of the foreign country's customs and local markets and all the government regulations, so that can be potentially very risky. As far as marketing goes, there are three strategies. There's you can be an international firm, which basically this is that a domestic firm would use the same strategies that they use at home in a different country. They don't change any way that they advertise. They don't change any way that they make the product. It's the exact same product sold to a different country. That might be the problem that some of the strategies don't translate as well into other countries, and that maybe like certain colors don't mean the same thing in different countries, so that could be risky. Then there's a multinational firm, which they use a multi-domestic strategy, where they have a different product and different advertising campaign and even different product variations for each country that they sell to. A specific company that does this is Mr. Clean. In North America and Asia, it's called Mr. Clean, and it has a certain formula. But then in Latin America, it's called Maestro Limpio. And then in Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, it's actually called Mr. Proper. And they all have different formulas, and they're all advertised differently depending on that culture. And then the third strategy, which is the one that our firm uses, is transnational firm. And we focus on the universal wants and needs of the consumer. And we use a global marketing strategy where we standardize the activities of the businesses when the cultures are similar, and then we adapt when need be. But we try to stay consistent in our meaning and in our basic meaning and basic formulas and stuff like that, to build a global brand that's recognizable all over the world.
Omar, would you like to add to that?
Hi, my name is Omar Villarreal. I'm a doctor in psychology, and for the past 5 years I've actually worked with a business psychology company, and what we do is we basically talk to a bunch of CEOs, decision makers of many small to Fortune 500 companies, and actually help them, grow and actually help them succeed in their business. And going off of some strategies over the past 5 years that I've learned, some of the 3 best strategies that I've seen that actually work within businesses, either in the States or internationally, would be to actually let the customers work. If you considered Build-A-Bear and IKEA, they actually make the customers, do their own bidding, and they go and they actually build their own bears, or they actually, things like that. And recent studies have shown that actually a bit of sweat equity would actually increase the perceived value of the product, which is actually something to take in consideration as one of the strategies you could possibly use internationally. A second one would be to let the people know that you're working. Something may take long, but as long as the people know you're working, it's worth the wait. I mean, if you consider Starbucks, they have a cappuccino maker that takes almost forever to make a cappuccino, but as long as they know that you're working and that all that hard work is going to become into something that they want, they're more than willing to wait. So that's another strategy that you would have to take into consideration. And another one would be to let the people vote. When you have a new product that wants to come out, or you have a decision within the company that you can't make yourself, let the people make it for you. If you think about M&M, when they have a new M&M color come out, they let the people make the decision, or the different type of M&M, the M&Ms with the pretzels inside, or the M&Ms with peanut butter inside. Just if you are caught between 2 things and you really don't know what to do, let the customer pick. So the consumer, if they pick and it actually comes out to what they chose, they felt like they were a part of that decision. It makes them feel a whole lot better and actually will strive them to buy the product too. So those are 3 big strategies that you could use within the field of business psychology in order to make your company succeed.
Oh, well, adding on what Omar said, I feel like something really important for you all to consider is the fact that if you are going abroad, it's very challenging, but you have to set ambitious goals. So don't be afraid in the first 3 to 5 years to expect a 30 to 50% revenue up. And going off on that, also what we've noticed in Krispy Kreme is that taking advantage of the fact that you're from the United States is very important. Companies like McDonald's have succeeded in oversee companies because of the fact that they're very centralized in the American culture, and people in different cultures and different countries really want to connect to the United States in any way, any economic way. So when people line up in different countries for a burger for 3 hours, they're not lining up for that burger, but for the American culture. And that's something that a lot of companies don't realize or don't take advantage of, and that's something that we at Krispy Kremes have tried to take advantage of. And also, another strategy is focus narrow and deep. Don't try to implement all your products into a different country. Try to go one step at a time, because the slower you go, the better results you'll get. And also, source globally. I know that's something that everyone probably already knows, but try to find the best forms of supply all over the country, or all over the world, because it's very important in making the most amount of money that you can make.
Aaron, do you have anything to add to that?
I have nothing to add to that.
Okay, no problem. Okay, we're gonna move on to our last question concerning the challenges presented with moving your business abroad. If you guys could touch on the downsides of this aspect of moving abroad. So go ahead and take the floor. Omar, start with this one.
Well, some challenges to consider within your business when moving abroad, as I've seen over the past few years, is the motivating employees to actually want to do the work and to actually want to succeed. And motivation is a really big challenge within your employees when a business has moved abroad. As you see, in the States, a lot of people are accustomed to many of the things that the American companies have a way of doing. But what happens when you move it internationally? There are a lot of things you have to take into consideration that will deplete the motivation of a certain employee or a group of employees. And over the past few years, we have worked with so many employees and so many decision makers to try and help them motivate their employees more to want to be able to do the work and actually create a profitable growth. Also, we've done things such as having a reward system. Therefore, saying, if you make XYZ amount of revenue for our company, you get XYZ amount of money, as a raise or something like that. And that's what we try to instill into a lot of CEOs and decision makers in top countries and top businesses when they move internationally, because motivation is a very big challenge. Within a company psychologically wise, because like I've stated before, there are many things that will help that will deplete the motivation status of a certain employee or group of employees. Also, there's the factor that the family as well. When a worker moves into a new country that they've never been there before, it's very hard for them to get adapted to the customs within that country. And once they get used to it, then their family must get used to it. And there are a lot of problems that the family could tell them, hey, I really don't want to be here, let's leave, let's this. And it could really affect their motivation in working. So that's what one of the biggest challenges that we've seen within a company.
Going off on that, one point that I would really like to stress is the fact that many people probably connect going global with standardization. And by that I mean that most companies think that one size fits all, and that's not true at all. It's a big problem that a lot of companies are having right now, that they don't realize that they have to adjust to the country that they're going into, which is a big challenge. And for example, when we go into a country, we have to research their culinary taste. And more specifically, when we went into Japan in 2002, we realized that their eating habits aren't similar to ours or the Europeans, and we had to adjust our recipes to fit their healthier standards, I guess you could say. And another challenge is finding the right local partners. For us, we've expanded through franchise, so we take great steps into looking for local partners that will help us succeed in different markets. And we look for people who are invested in our brand and invested in succeeding and making money. And so from there, they help us understand their culture and understand things that that don't come as naturally to us, since we don't actually live there. And just keep in mind that going overseas is very challenging, and if your company isn't strong here, it's not going to be strong over there. You have to keep in mind that you have to commit human and financial resources that are necessary to develop and implement in an international strategy. So you're going to invest a lot of time, and you have to make sure that your employees are willing to invest as much time as you are to make going abroad successful.
To build on that, some of the challenges that you're going to face are going to be very technical ones, ones that I'm probably not going to get into all of the technicality of, but you have to pay attention. You have to remember that you have to pay attention to things that you wouldn't necessarily think of working domestically, but you have to think of currency exchange rates, trade regulations, and government regulations. And you even have to think of like the political stability of that country that you're trying to move into, and the income purchasing power and of the common consumer, because you can't move into an impoverished nation selling luxury goods. Like maybe you don't think of that, but like and you have to think of if the country's not politically stable, they're not going to be thinking about buying donuts. They're going to be thinking about buying sugar and flour and butter. They're going to be thinking about staples in their diet. Besides all the technicality, something that my firm focuses a lot on is the language differences and the translations, especially with slang language, which a lot of people don't think about when they hire translators and stuff. That's why we work with consultants in local markets all over the world, so that we have a good idea of the local market and the local language and the customs and all of maybe even the slang language. I know that there was a case with Vicks Vapor Rub that when they tried to move to Germany, they found out that the word Vicks, V-I-C-K-S, means sex in German, or it's a slang word for it, so they had to change it to W-I-C-K-S, which is pronounced the same way, but they had to change it, so you just have to pay attention to that kind of thing because it could potentially be a huge problem for you.
All the challenges that they put out on the table are real challenges that many companies face when they try to go abroad. And when I worked with with Roger Carter and the Team Tourism Consulting Agency, we always went down, or when we sat down with new clients or with a business that was trying to go abroad, we set out these guidelines. And some of them to avoid these challenges are explain everything in full. With your strategies, with your policies, you want to make sure that everything is laid out on the table for the business or for the country that you're going to. Not only you lay it out on the table, but they need to be able to explain everything to you so you all can have a mutual understanding. You want to keep things simple when you're moving abroad because you don't want to throw too much at a country at once or a client at once where they won't understand where you're coming from. And it'll just make things easier to do in trade and strategy and just all aspects of business. And these also help just in every area. Avoid preconceived ideas, and that's really a big part of what I've researched as far as religious and spirituality goes. Do not assume that you know the religion that you're going to be dealing with or just any part of the business that you're going to be dealing with. Treat all the inquiries very seriously. Don't expect for your employees even to know everything. Be very prompt when you are responding because some cultures have slower responses maybe, so you should still be very prompt when you're returning an answer to them. And listen as much as you can. Don't be the talker the entire time. And finally, if you really want to clarify when you are trying to figure out business strategies and where their background is coming from, you really want to make sure you know exactly what they mean when they say they don't want to invest in something because of the belief or they don't want to sell something because it means a lot to them. So those are just some small guidelines that we'd like to share with you as far as taking your business abroad.
Anything else anybody would like to add? Okay, at this time, those are all the questions I have. I'm going to do a small recap of what our panel has said today about motivation to move you abroad, including the revenue, like Erica said, the increase of diversity that you learn from these other countries. Caitlin was built on the building a global brand, becoming recognized. Aaron stated about getting to know your client at a different level that will help you not only understand them abroad, but also here in the States. For business strategies, we learned about high risk licensing from Caitlin, about different joint ventures. Omar told us the people are going to be your greatest help internationally. We also heard about that you should expect to lose, but you should take advantage of being American, as Erica emphasized, having a narrow and deep focus that you want to accomplish this certain goal. For the challenges, there are various ones, including your motivation of your employees, as Omar stated, in the psychological aspect, going global and being the worry of becoming standardized, losing local partners. Caitlin emphasized on the regulations, political instability, and Aaron talked about that you need to clarify in order to avoid these challenges in the future. At this time, I would like to thank our panelists for answering my questions, and would like to open the floor for questions if you guys have any.
Go ahead. I have a question for Caitlin. Can you give me an example of an instance where a specific or just any American business strategy has failed abroad and why?
Sure. Going back to translation issues, I remember there was an instance where IBM tried to translate their slogan, I think it was solutions for a small planet, and they tried to translate it to Japanese, and it translated as answers make people small. And we have to practice, there's a practice that we use in advertising called back translation, and you translate it to the language, and then you have someone from that language translate it back to English and see if it's the same thing, because a lot of the times it's not. So you have to be really careful. Sometimes it works out for you though, because I remember Nestle, who makes Kit Kats, they sell Kit Kats all around the world. But in Japan, people pronounce it Kitokatsu, which roughly translates to "I will win." And so teenagers will eat them before tests and before big games and stuff. So it's supposed to be like a good luck kind of thing to eat before games and stuff. But then we also have to think about cultural symbols and even gender identity, things that are gender definitions in different countries are not necessarily the same. I know in Russia, a thumbs up does not mean anything good, and it's a very offensive gesture. Where in America it means good job. So you have to keep those things in mind when you're doing advertising and anything visual.
My question's for Erica. Can you talk some more about the requirements for purchasing Krispy Kreme abroad?
Sure. For Krispy Kreme, we have about 500 people calling in asking for applications weekly. And what makes Krispy Kreme different from other fast food places is the fact our requirements are higher than most. It's going to be almost $2 million to start a Krispy Kreme franchise, whereas for McDonald's it's around $7,500. So as you can see, the comparison is rather large. But so the costs come like this. First, we have a non-refundable $40,000 fee as a member, so you could use the brand for 15 years. And then we have a 4.5% of the total sales as a royalty fee, and then another 2% to increase brand development. And then in order to apply, you have to have $5 million in net worth, and you have to have experience in ownership and operating a company. And really we're looking for area developers, and what that means is that we're looking for people who want to purchase 10 franchises and expand them into different areas of the United States or internationally as well. And so it comes around $2 million when different countries want to take the Krispy Kreme name and put it into their country. We require that they write some form of portfolio telling us why Krispy Kreme would succeed in that country. And usually it's a long process. It takes around 6 months to 2 years to figure out if you're suitable for the Krispy Kreme name. And, but it's not really open for an average American. Usually it's for larger companies or corporations. And but right now we're actually not accepting applications. We won't be for about 2 years. With that, the reason we're doing that is because we're trying to slow down the franchises that we put out globally, because we want Krispy Kreme to stay an exclusive brand. And so right now we're not accepting applications, but in the future, if you're interested, just give me a call.
I have a question for Omar. What can be done to help train the families so that that problem doesn't happen that you mentioned?
It's a process that works the same way that you would train your employees. You put them through well, it's not basically putting them through an entire process. It's more helping them get adapted and getting used to it. It's kind of like evolving going from your cultures and the customs that you are aware of in America, and kind of putting them in a new country, or how you say it, well, a new country in a new business. The way we help these employees is that we slowly expose them to the customs in the country that they're in. It's really hard to do that, knowing that the customs are all around them. But what we do is basically we try to give them the sense that they still are in America, or still in the country that they are originally from, and slowly start to expose them to the customs that in the country that they're in. It's a very hard process, but it can be done, and slowly over time it helps them do the process. It helps them cope with the fact that they aren't in America, they're in a new country. There's a lot of things that are different, such as Japan and Japan, China, Asia, Europe. All of the customs within those countries are very different to American. So the same thing we do with the families. The families, it's a little bit harder, seeing as how if you have children, the children leave their schools, their friends behind. The mother leaves their beautiful home. As she would claim it, I imagine she would leave her beautiful home, and basically it's more of a problem with the kids rather than the wife. And so what we try to do is we try to instill a lot of responsibilities within the employee first before we move the family. So the employee, the father or mother of that business, will help the family cope with it because they are used to it and they know the process that it takes in order for them to move on and be able to actually cope with that. With the stress and relieving the stress and relieving everything, and actually being accustomed to the new customs that they're in within that country. The worker understands what it takes to be in that country. So now we move the family, and the family's there, then the father or mother, depending on who's working for the company, actually helps the family within that. And that is one of the strategies that we actually use, and that's the one that's been most effective.
So for sake of time, can you wrap it up?
Yes. If you have any more questions, feel free to stay behind and ask the panelists. We would like to thank you guys and hope that everything else goes on great on this 2013 International Business Conference. Thank you for your time.